Welcome, everyone. This is episode 22 of the Camera Stew podcast. The subject of today's episode is online education. The sponsors for this episode are Lightwear, maker of the finest photography equipment cases on the planet, the choice for some of the world's top professional photographers. You can see a full range of their products on lightwearinc.com. Also, Foursquare, the innovative, lightweight, modular softboxes and light modifiers for use with speedlights and full-size strobe heads. The Foursquare block can be adapted to just about any speedlight currently being made. And last but not least, Dr. Dan's highlight discs. They give big studio strobes a very unique and precise highlighting effect. These items are exclusively available at lightweardirect.com. Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoy this episode of Camera Stew. Welcome to episode 22 of
22?
Camera Stew.
Holy cow. So many.
Yet so far.
So today we're going to talk about online education, specifically Photoshop tutorials.
Ooh.
Kind of a what's the best bang for the buck of the small sample size that we dappled in. And
Yeah, I kind of deviated. I didn't do Photoshop tutorials. I did other tutorials. So I deviated. I'm a deviant. It's okay.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah, we know that.
Well, why don't you start off and tell us what you did?
Let's see, masterclass.com. And I watched a couple of them. The first one was Annie Leibovitz. Did I say that right?
Yeah, I think so. Leibovitz.
Leibovitz? Is it Vitz? Vitz?
Leibovitz. That's how I say it, is Leibovitz.
Yeah. And they say it's teaching photography, but she doesn't do any teaching, in my opinion. It's a lot of review of other photographers. I think it was at the Art Center in San Francisco. Mm-hmm. She's kind of reviewing that work. And then we saw how she was directing her Photoshop guru guy to edit her image. She knows nothing about Photoshop.
Was she talking about her past shots? Is like what you're talking
about?
Kind of
a little bit. She's very philosophical.
Stuff.
She was very, I don't know. I guess I didn't know what to expect, but I thought, okay, I know all this. What are you gonna? I thought we're gonna get down to really a master.
Like find a little golden nugget somewhere in there.
I found no nuggets.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. I mean, a lot of gravel. I mean, it'd be fine, I suppose, for someone who's brand new at it. But I admire her work. I was hoping to see something of how she created, for example, the Disney images, which were fantastic, right?
Like it sounds like there wasn't really anything technical in it. It was just
no. And it was pretty obvious when it came to technicality. The sense I got, her technical skills are relied upon other people helping her with those aspects. She knows she has a vision and she knows what she wants, and so she points to people to get what she wants. Does it make sense? Whereas when we do photo shoots, I mean, you guys know me, I'm prepping for 30 days beforehand, and I pretty much...
Well, yeah, we're much more of a, take that up this much.
Exactly.
Move that so many feet to the left. And yeah, it's very...
Right. I mean, she'll look at an image and say, okay, move the light over or whatever. But I don't know. I just got the impression that when it came to knowing Photoshop, I just wasn't impressed that she knew anything at all about it. She sat there with a stick pointing to the monitor with her Photoshop guy doing all the Photoshop work.
Well, she's probably at a place right now financially.
Yeah, she doesn't have to.
She doesn't have to learn it. She just goes, well, that's not quite right. I want it greener, or I want it not as dark or light, or can we put a cloud here and move that there? I mean, she may know it in the sense of the vision of when she knows that the image is correct, but how to get it there from the computer. Hence
the philosophical aspect of it. There's no
exactly
technical at all. And I suppose that's what made me, because I remember reading the works of Ansel Adams. I mean, he was in the darkroom doing this stuff.
Right.
And he was very technically oriented and crafting that image.
Yeah, he was working a little bit right brain, left brain.
Yes. She's creative brain, yes. but I don't see the technical brain at all in that. Okay, but I mean, not to dissuade her, dismiss her as a creative, but at the same time, I was somewhat disappointed. Maybe it's just because of where I'm at in my life.
It's probably for an educational thing. I mean, you can kind of describe it, but it's hard to teach that creative part. The technical part is probably much easier and to absorb and teach. I mean, because it's more linear. It's ABC, do this.
Right.
I mean, as opposed to...
But she didn't go through any here's our setup. I mean, here's our test shot. Oh, I don't like this because this light is a little too bright. We need to move this around. I want this. There was none of that at all. And so you don't get anything other than a philosophical way of just go out and shoot your local people and, find your own thing kind of thing, And so I was disappointed in that.
Yeah, I think she's at a point where she doesn't really need to learn it.
Right, granted, and I hear you, but I don't know. It's just I guess my personality
for that particular class. It sounds like more as a selling a name than an educational class.
Well, yeah, I'm sure that's a lot of it. I mean, if you look at the classes in general, I mean, it's $90 and you're listening to I forget how many little videos
per episode. Or
there's there's 15 mini episodes. And I just didn't find much there that I could say, oh, there's a nugget for me to. Because usually if I've gone to workshops, I'm not going there to learn so much as I'm looking for that one little nugget, a phrase, or something I could say to the talent that a pose, position, or something. But I just didn't get it.
Improves your own work, sure. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what you're...
But it's disappointing when you expect a guru to be...
able to give you a nugget.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it could be...
It sounded like you had both done a second one.
Yes.
A masterclass.
Yeah.
What was the other one, Paul?
The other one was Werner Herzog, and great film director. And I really, really love what he's done. And in his, again, philosophical, and it was... I was looking for that nugget as well, and his was, you just need to read a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot of reading. And I read those books, and I just thought...
Read like what? Like what's he talking about?
There's one about a Peregrine family or some kind of... And I read that book, and I just thought...
A lot of history, a lot of culture.
And how does that apply to...
Well, I think it applies from his perspective as how to see the world differently or uniquely, or with a vision that hasn't been shown. Because when you look at his work, it's really, it's different. It's unique, and it's, I'm going to call it gritty, on the street.
Right.
And he obviously has the skill set to tell his grips and gaffers and his AD, okay, this is what I want. We're going to do it this way. And I have a vision about how that guy's going to walk through that door. And those are the kinds of things that, again, a nugget that I was hoping I solved this issue like this. I backlit them. I shot from a lower angle. I shot with a long lens.
Looking for that technical again.
Looking for that little nugget where his vision in his eyes and in his brain was translated to a physical response in the crew to make the image come alive, I guess. And again, a lot of it was read and be aware of the world. But I was having a hard time grasping that.
Right.
As not watching that sounds kind of cop-out.
They had video of this one. It was a documentary, and they're out in the jungle, and it's muddy, and they had that. But it's like, okay, but where's the actual filmmaking, not just how they trudge through the jungle to get to a location. It's like, what?
Well, and I guess from what I'm hearing from you guys is, what does reading about history have to do with trudging through the jungle?
The only advantage of reading about history is if you're doing a period piece and you need to study on...
I guess that's what he's filming,
for if you need it for costume or for set, I get that. But the books, I got two of the books that he recommended had nothing to do with
It had to do with life and vision and reality, lack of reality.
Yeah.
The world.
Yeah. I mean, the books were fine to read, but there was nothing that I could take away other than the perspective of this Peregrine, whatever it was. I mean, you know, I mean, it's like, really?
But the thing is that he's really, I mean, he's phenomenal as far
absolutely.
As far as I'm concerned. He's incredible, and how he translates that to his filmmaking is kind of what I missed. Yeah. I didn't see the mental translation to physical action.
Correct. No.
And that's,
I mean, there's value in traveling to get a different perspective.
Yes.
And you see something, you go, oh, I like that light. I like that look, that color. And you take that with you, and you want to recreate that when you get to the studio or wherever you're at.
Right.
I mean, there is a tremendous amount of value in that. Yes. But
again,
there was no teaching. In this lighting scenario,
well, I mean,
we did this to overcome that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it was I found it somewhat disappointing because you think master class, okay, I don't know.
I understand. Yep.
Oh, we have the train in the background again.
It's the train day today. It's Friday.
Oh, that's right. It is Friday.
Yeah.
So what did you find out there, Timothy?
Most of what I've kind of taught myself is a lot of it's been from YouTube. Like, oh, I need to do this. Look up the one thing. Okay, done. And so I was looking for something to kind of expand on that and try and find something that would be a little bit beyond just free crud that people post and kind of services. Right. So I went like a younger person. I went to Reddit.
Oh,
and just like search around on there and tried to find other posts that people had put up about asking for Photoshop tutorials and things like that. And a couple of them recommended Skillshare, which just seems like you weren't getting a whole lot more than YouTube things, except better organization. I mean, that's really, you get one person and it's all laid out for you like a class, but for the most part, the quality of education was kind of on par, if maybe slightly better. But really, it was the only thing you're gaining, I see, is more of just the organization of a structured class. The other one I ran across was, it was a guy by the name of Daniel Scott.
Oh, is that one that you showed me?
Yeah,
you sent me that. That was good.
Bring your own laptop. Make sure I get it right. BringYourOwnLaptop.com. And that one, he's an actual,
isn't he a certified Adobe?
Certified Adobe, Photoshop, by Adobe instructor.
Right.
So he actually had total opposite of the spectrum of what you guys were talking about, it sounds like. Very much in the technical, and this is how these tools work. This is, step by step. Here's a section on retouching. These 10 episodes are, different techniques for retouching. This is typography. This is how you do a bunch of different things in typography. So it was very much the way I think. So I got a lot out of it, I think. And even within the classes, I think one of the things that I liked the most was he tried to not do the same thing twice. So even if you're copying an image from one, document to another, it's like, okay, well, you can do it this way. And then the next time you do it, okay, now we did this and now we're going to, drag it here, or we're going to use a keyboard shortcut to move it. And now we're going to do the same thing again, but we're going to do it in a different way. So you learn
options,
because everybody knows there's 100 different ways to do something in Photoshop. So he was trying to cram as many of those in there as you can. And there are several that really stuck, and I've used them probably every time I've hopped on Photoshop since.
Right. Well, I know you shared that with me. I watched a couple of them, and I really, for somebody who relies on you to do my Photoshop, it was explained to me in a way that I could understand. Right. So that's saying a lot for the quality of this guy's instruction. He didn't approach it strictly linear. but as in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, he did in a way, but he would actually go and show you what it would do rather than just tell you what it would do.
Right. There definitely was that, okay, this is what we're going to do. Here's the end product. Now start at the beginning.
Exactly.
And that's where we're going to end up.
And he made it simple enough and in little chunks that I could grasp it. Now, when I work with Tim, it's like he's got so much going on that, keyboard, hands, mouse, whatever. I can't keep up with him.
Yeah.
And so I can't, I don't want to bother him because he's trying to get the job done. But wow, this young man really put it out for me at least quite nicely.
Well, and usually when I'm doing it, it's either okay, am I doing this to get it done and produce things and move on, or are we teaching? It's two different things and speeds and
exactly.
So
I enjoyed it. I think he has a good. I don't remember how much it cost. Do you remember, Tim?
It was like $89 for the year or something like that.
Well, I think so.
If one was,
I was the one telling you guys to look up prices. So
if you're industrious, you could go through it pretty good.
Yeah, it was a monthly, I believe, subscription, and then he has all sorts of tutorials on InDesign and Premiere and things like that. Beginning Photoshop, advanced Photoshop, graphic design, illustration.
Wow, he knows all. To know all of that.
Some Microsoft Word and Excel, general web design.
Oh dear.
And it's one monthly fee, and it's all of these. As long as you're subscribed, you can watch any of them. So that seemed like a pretty good deal to me. And it was sign up.
I think it was $89. I signed up for it.
Oh, monthly $12.84 yearly.
Oh, $84 for the year, and that's extremely reasonable.
Did you buy a year?
Yeah, I bought it for a year, and the couple that I've seen is like, oh, good, he's actually showing da 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 da.
Yeah.
know.
Well, and the monthly thing, it's kind of like going to the gym. Is you gotta, if you're gonna do it and try and save your money, you gotta
you gotta make time.
Yeah. And
you can't buy the gym membership and not show up and expect to have anything happen.
So I had to make sure I did like a couple a week or in the evening, try and do one, and
right,
because it's great to sit down for 3 or 4 hours, but that kind of kills half a day.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it
looks like we had a couple other. Paul, I think you had also done.
Yeah, I kind of watch a guy, Rob Grimm, and he's in St. Louis, Missouri. Not some other St. Louis. Yeah. And he has a program that he started called Pro EDU, and they have here. I'm on one of their pages, and they have 39 current episodes, if you will, and I downloaded the one that was free, which was his shooting a beer bottle and production and post-production and pre-production and all the little tips and tricks about how he preps a deer bottle.
A deer bottle.
So this is more of a complete photo shoot beginning to end.
This is a complete
program.
It's a complete photo shoot, but the advantage that he's got with this, at least in his, from I saw, you got to see how he thought about the subject, and then how he communicated with the retoucher, and then how the retoucher took that.
So that sounds like what you wanted your masterclass to be.
Yeah, and then made that beer bottle look the way the client wanted it to look. So you got to hang as his assistant, as he says, and see how it's done, and watch him go, no, that's not working. I mean, he really, that's not working. Let's move that light behind it. That edge light's not right.
Yeah.
Boy, that label is really bad. And he would.
Well, and that's showing you how to fix things and not do it this way and that's perfect. Yay, we're done.
Right.
That doesn't teach you anything.
Yeah, that doesn't. It doesn't teach you the. Oops, sorry. Hit the mic. It doesn't teach you the detail of looking that is required when you're shooting, beer bottles or liquor bottles or a drink ad or whatever. Right. All the little teeny kind of stuff you have to pay attention to in order to make it work. And that's what I enjoyed about it. He really did a great job of taking you through the how-tos and then to the retoucher and the retoucher doing it and then, summing it up at the end and showing the finished results.
Now you're saying a number like of episodes or something. Was it, I'm getting it mixed up with the price numbers. Do you say 89 episodes or what? How many episodes?
There's 39 episodes. And
now, is that on that one project?
No, he has he and his partners, I'm going to assume he has partners.
Or there's like 30 whatever.
There's 39
different
separate, total different. Here, let me click on
I would assume each one of those has
tutorials page here.
Is it multiple videos within each
section?
Or is it kind of one long one that's...
It's 39 separate classes.
Okay.
So he's got anything from essential Photoshop tools down to the science of color, to surreal retouching, to beauty and portrait retouching, product photography, lifestyle, photographing cars, composite portraiture, baby shooting. He's got a lot of different things that as a working commercial photographer, you're going to end up, potentially running into.
So that's a little bit more focusing on the project and then the tools around that instead of the, like, to bring your own laptop. It was more of a
this is
broader tool overview, I guess.
Yeah, it's like, this one here, he's got his traumatic portraits. It actually walks you through how to put it together from your vision. Dramatic.
Oh.
Did I say it wrong? Dramatic.
I heard traumatic.
I could have slurred my words.
Take a photo and break a leg too.
Yeah.
Dramatic portraits, and kind of explains, what the process is from the beginning to the end. And I think it's, for the number of lessons in each of it, I think they're fairly priced. They're $129 an episode, and some are $99, I think, is a special that he's got going now.
Well, I guess it would be more of a per class than a per episode.
Yeah, per class. Sorry, that is right. That is more correct, per class.
Just skimming over his site, it looked like he had a lot more kind of extras like LUTs and color.
He's got tools
and filters.
The thing about Rob is he's always been, I'm going to call him crispy, clean, precise. It's got to look
like the photographic style.
It's got, shooting for beer companies and liquor companies, it really has to be, you got to be on. And that's his personality. And that's what I think is very evident in the way he and his partners have put this production and these classes together. It's very clean. It's very professional. If you want to know anything, it's there. I mean, in his actions, and he's done really well. I think he's done really well. It's clean and it's precise. It's kind of like the thing that you would get if you went to, let's say, a community college and you wanted to have a course in color grading, right? And you signed up for a quarter of color grading, and you'd have nine classes in a quarter. 3 months, and you'd work on color grading for that quarter. That's kind of how I look at it. He's got them broken up pretty nicely. Now, I don't know if it's just him. I know he's got other people working with him, a director and probably a writer.
These are, as I'm looking this over, I haven't been to this website. It looks like it's with different photographers too.
Correct. It's not just him. Yeah.
Right. And then they break it down into how many hours. Like it could be 10 hours worth of instruction. Yeah. And so many videos, including the files and everything like that, so you can work through it. So, it looks...
Well, it kind of depends on, I guess, what you're going for. If you're looking for the more of the just learning the Photoshop and be on your own on the photography part, or if you're kind of looking for the fuller package, whether or not that's
But in the industry that we're in, I think, because this is my opinion, and solely my opinion, is that there is so much education now available on YouTube and on the web that it takes a lot away from the classroom as how I learned.
Right.
A lot of what I learned is now on the web and freely accessible.
Well,
Oh yeah. When I was learning, I mean, I went to workshops. I paid thousands of dollars to go to these weekend 2, 3, 4 day workshops.
Right. I paid thousands of dollars per quarter.
Per quarter. You did that per quarter. Now you don't need to.
Yeah,
And-
it's really interesting how it's changed.
Yeah, it's changed a lot.
And so I think if you go to Art Center in California, or to RIT, or to San Francisco Art Institute or Chicago Art Institute, and you study photography, I think it's got to be at a total different mindset when you go in, and because there's going to be so much required that Photoshop in and out in order to be able to graduate, because it will, there isn't anything that's done really with film anymore.
Well, and I went through the Colorado Art Institute, a decade ago. I mean, they definitely did start from the very beginning and teach you what you needed to know. And at least in my opinion, as long as you marginally applied yourself, it wasn't that difficult. But I also picked up on software.
You're very good at picking up on software.
I mean, for a in-person class, I think really what you would gain from either a structured school or a workshop is getting, instead of sitting in front of a laptop or what have you, watching a video, it gets the camera in your hand and actually doing something instead. I mean, that's really what you're going to gain from any of those type of educational environments.
And also having your peers there. I mean, your peers can help you think about, oh, I didn't see that, or wow, that's a good idea, or maybe we should change the focal length of the lens, or what about this, or a faster shutter speed, or a different background. Because like we were working today, sometimes you have a myopic vision and it's just not the way it's going to work out.
Right. You can't ask a video a question.
Right. No. You cannot ask a video a question. That is correct. Yeah. Why did you do that? Yeah.
So there's some validity to those type of education, whether or not it's worth the price difference to you.
Yeah, I think at this day and age, it would be really hard to try and sell my folks that I'm just going to get my education on the computer. They would not have gone for that at all. No, you're going to real school, you're going to get a degree, and you're going to be a lawyer or a doctor, damn it. What is this art stuff? So yeah, the Pro EDU, I think, is something that you should, if you're interested in connecting both the Photoshop with the photograph, I think this is something to take a look at. Definitely take a look at. So do you guys got anything else? There's a lot more out there. I mean, these these are just...
Well, and I think it's not just taking, hey, do this. It's a great class or whatever. Is like doing a little research beforehand of like what, and kind of thinking about what you want to learn or what you want to get out of something, and look for something education-wise that meets those needs.
Right.
So if you're looking for, I need to learn Photoshop, I already know how to do photography, the bring your own laptop might be the way. If you're thinking I need to improve my photography overall, maybe the Pro EDU might be more of the direction that you want to go. And whatever you do, don't do masterclass.
I might, going on that masterclass, there's a couple of people, I'm curious about Ron Howard, because I've seen some of the previews. He actually does a setup.
Okay.
And I could, and in the quick preview, he had a couple of cameras on it, and he said, now this camera is set for this shot, and this is why, and this will draw you in. And so I think it really, when it comes to the master class, it's coming down to the individual.
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
So all I can tell you is the two that I saw, I wasn't impressed. I mean, I admire their talent, what they have produced, no question. But as far as teaching me anything, I wasn't that impressed.
Okay.
When it came to that. And it kind of reminds me when I stopped taking workshops, the last one I took was with this John Farber, very famous for nude photography. Robert, that's right. Thank you.
Robert Farber.
And I flew all the way out to LA, go to the studio, and I was appalled. I could have taught circles around this guy. He shot everything in JPEG. He admitted freely how he had no idea how to adjust settings on his camera. and they had a really hokey setup. The model was gorgeous, but the setup was is obvious. He couldn't. I mean, I was surprised he could even find a light switch. I mean, I was not impressed with him. Yeah. His talent, he just happened, and it struck me. He was in the right place at the right time, and luck. He got the luck card that just dinged on him. Okay.
Yep.
Some of his vision in his eye was there if you look at his body of work, but I thought I was going to learn something, and that's when I stopped going to workshops, because it's like, I could teach this 100 times over and do a much better job.
Yeah.
And so I was furious. I can't tell you how much, because I paid so much money to see this and actually learn something. I didn't learn a damn thing. The other thing too
was it a pretty new workshop at the time?
Oh shoot!
Or was it? I mean, did you have?
I don't remember
any information about it, or were you?
No, I think it was something that he did through Sammy's out there, and boy, this goes back 10 years ago at least, if not a little bit more than 10 years ago. But yeah, it was probably 15. And I mean, another thing I hated about it, I hate going to workshops where it's a gangbang on the model. What I mean is everyone's shooting all at the same time, and it's analogous to you go out on a tourism, somewhere, and it's all these Japanese guys all huddled in the same place shooting all at the same time. And I just thought, wow, you're not getting anything. That was one thing that I liked about David Meese's workshop years ago. It was one person, one at a time, and he was right beside you, and really teaching what was going on. Even though
there's a group of you,
yes, and he had his crew, and definitely his crew were very knowledgeable and things like that. And he surrounded himself with good people, which is a smart thing to do. But he allowed each individual to take their shot one at a time, and this was just like, I raised my camera for one shot, maybe two, I think I got out of it. And I was like, what a waste of time this was. He didn't teach me anything. He had no knowledge. He just struck me as the absent-minded professor. And I just thought, you bastard. If I take the time to fly out, pay my money, and to do these things, you better be prepared and show up and actually teach something. You don't stand there and say, well, I really don't know anything about my camera. I just put on automatic setting and JPEGs. That's all I know to do. And that's really what it was.
Right.
And what made me mad, philosophically speaking, was how successful and how much of a genius he was. And I saw none of that. Even in his photography, I like it, but I don't go, ooh, ah. So many people say such photographer is a genius, and I just think, really? What really makes him a genius? I don't see it, And I think it's just non-photographers looking at it going, ooh. I think it's the art world in general. They tend to over-dramatize individuals. But that's just me going off on a tangent.
Well, while you were on that tangent, I remembered there's a young man. I believe he's Russian, and he's got an online school.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Can you think of his name? Because I've watched several of his tutorials, and he's really good. I mean, the hardest thing is trying to get past the accent.
Right.
Yeah. Which was really.
No, he's very. Yeah. No, he's
I cannot think of his name at the moment. That's terrible.
Anton.
Alexei.
Well, we'll find it.
I can't remember.
In the description of the video.
They were talking about Alex Koloskov, founder of Photigy.com, spelled P-H-O-T-I-G-Y. And now, back to the podcast.
But yeah, he really goes step by step. And then there's that other guy out in England.
Gavin.
Another bald-headed guy.
Oh, yeah.
He did that video.
Oh, he must be good then.
Yeah, he must be good, right? What the hell's his name?
Oh
shoot, I can't remember his name. And actually, I've seen some of his tutorials, and he actually goes through it very well.
It's sad that we can't remember it, particularly when we're recording our
I know. I didn't even think
terrible.
about him until just now.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
He's the one who did that video for Matthews.
Yes.
whatever that was. So anywho, yeah, so there's those out there that are really teaching something as opposed to talking about it. I guess I'm a little less talk and a lot more action kind of guy.
Sure.
That's the way I am.
Well, another interesting one is Carl Taylor out of England. He's an
That's what I'm thinking of. Carl Taylor. That's his name.
He's a very interesting guy. Yeah. He's got some good opinions, good actions, good, there's another guy too in England that's doing a lot of color workshops. And he associates that with,
Oh, and then going back a couple of years ago, before we were even podcasting, the one that fizzled out too, it was called Mastered, Mastered, Mastered. That was supposedly with Nick Knight's name.
Oh, yeah.
And I did a couple of those classes, and you submit your work, and you're supposed to get critiqued by these knowledgeable people. And I got into a real pissing match with this young kid, alleged editor, who'd had it was like a Studio 54 kind of thing that we're supposed to do, a 70s kind of shoot. Mm-hmm. It was obvious she had not a damn clue about that era, because I really tried to recreate that period in kind of a fashion way. And I just laid into it, and I just dropped the whole thing. And lo and behold, they're not doing them anymore. You don't even see them. And I thought I was going to get actually Nick Knight, because I love his work. I've been very inspired when I did Vicky Valentina in the water. We set up that plexiglass.
Right. Yep.
That was a total inspired by one of his Dior shoots. But he was nowhere to be found in it. And there was all these other 20-somethings that I don't know.
Yeah.
That didn't have the experience
I think
to look at my work and say, oh, you should have done this and that. And I just thought, no.
I think they found out it was more difficult than they thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
Putting something out requires, a lot of...
Yeah. So that was a huge disappointment that I spent a lot of money on. Right. And I told them on no uncertain terms what I thought of their workshop. Yeah. If you get the time and you take my money, you better be up to the plate. And they were just using his name. He was supposedly going to be at the end of it. I mean, he wrote a nice little essay to think about fashion a certain way and that kind of stuff like that. But
but that's not enough to slap your name on a workshop.
I expected him to say something, because he was the master photographer, not these other assistants and wannabes and newbies. And that's really what it was. That was one I was furious about. Anywho, I digress, but that was keeping the theme of the thing. I totally forgot about that one.
And I hear the rain too.
Yes, listening to the rain.
Well, I can't think of anything else. I thought it was fun for us to try and find some things that would work.
Yeah.
So I guess the moral of the story is to do a little research.
Absolutely.
Beforehand, if you can.
Absolutely.
Right.
Don't blow a lot of money on a workshop if it's...
Yeah, the thing about it is you don't know. You don't know.
Well, taking one of these workshops for $80 or $129 or $99
then
is a lot cheaper than getting on an airplane and flying to LA.
Oh, yes.
And running a hotel and a car and 3 days at a location.
Right.
You better have...
Yeah. Yeah, with Farber's, it was just an afternoon, but even still, it was hundreds of dollars for that afternoon because of his name and his accomplishment. But you expected a hell of a lot more, not someone who was an absent-minded professor who happened to stumble into it. And that's the exact impression I got. Mazel tov to him, but hello.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, stick him in a studio with a bunch of equipment, and he'll sit there twiddling his thumbs until his technicians show up to even know how to turn on the damn camera. Yeah, that's really what it was. That's exactly what it was.
On any other note, gentlemen, shall we wrap up a Friday?
Yeah, why not? We'll wrap this one up. Thanks for listening. Thank you for our 4 listeners that are out there. We do appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Do a shout out. Give us a review. Hey, can you give us 5-star? We're trying here. Okay?
We're trying.
We're trying here, guys. I appreciate it. That would be really helpful.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great time. Have a great weekend, at least for us anyway. We'll see you on the next one.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Camera Stew. If you enjoyed the podcast, please subscribe on iTunes and on YouTube. And don't forget to share it with your friends. This episode and others are also available directly at camerastew.com. If you'd like to see some of our work, you can find links to each of our sites, as well as the social networks we participate in, all listed on the bio page of camerastew.com. Rating and reviewing the show is, as always, a huge help, so please do that. If you have suggestions for the show, or have someone you would like us to interview, please send us an email at camerastew@gmail.com. From all of us at Camera Stew, thanks for listening.